Hello, everyone. How are you? We are super happy to be with you today and to do the first webinar, the first Quared webinar with you all. It's a project that we've been working for a while, and we've been like working on the content for a while as well. And we are super happy that finally we can launch and we can like share with you all the insights we have and start creating this movement, the Get Quared movement, that we will explain shortly. So before and we hope people keep connecting. I will suggest if you can say hi in the chat, or either in YouTube or in LinkedIn, you can say hi on the chat. So, or you can say where are you watching us if you're listening. All right, and so even though we don't see each other in front, that's what we love. At least we are in contact with the chat, and we hope that you can use this chat during the whole webinar, because we expect to have a bi-directional conversation. Obviously, you will be talking in the chat, but we will have your comments really present. We will bring them into the screen as well. So we hope you can participate. We'll be throwing you questions. Thanks for joining us. And shortly I will introduce you, Michael and Alex, and we will be talking about this Get Quared movement that we just launched. So let's see. Now I'm seeing Gianluca is saying from YouTube Buonasera. Hello Gianluca. Super happy to see you here as well. And finally, with our friends, we've been talking about this, refining the ideas, and we've been creating this framework that we'll be sharing. So a little bit of housekeeping before we start. I'll say we want to start introducing ourselves. Then we're gonna do a question to you, and we hope you can answer us in the chat. And afterwards, we will be presenting you the framework that we created from Quared about how to get employees to become owners of our company, how to have really the people that work in our company really compromise and feeling that the company is their own. So we want to share a framework in order to be the most practical tool in order to apply everything. So today we will show the framework, and also at the end we will do a Q&A session. So if you have any question during the presentation of the framework, please write it down, because we are seeing the comments, so we can jump into your questions, and we can have this, even though there is this digital limitation, we can have this interaction, and we can have this conversation that we hope to have, and then we can start. So I would like to first introduce Mickey and Alex. So maybe we can start with Alex. Alex, good afternoon. Thank you.
Hey, how are you? So first of all, I'm very excited of being here again. We had an interview some time ago, Tony, so that brings back very, very good memories. So yeah, my name is Alex Dilme. My background is mainly across two big areas. One is strategy, the other one is social impact. So in my past life, I worked for a consulting company called McKinsey, and then over the last 5 years, I worked for a big FMCG company called GB Foods, managing two things: the strategy of the group in Africa, and at the same time developing all the new culture and the new purpose agenda. Then on the sidelines, I've been trying to work also in a few social impact projects, a few NGOs in Asia, and yeah, that's pretty much me.
Fantastic. Well, so welcome, and also Michael, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is Michael. A little bit about me. My career kind of divides in I believe now 3-4 different stages. I started off in consulting like Alex, then I moved into early stage startups and worked for an accelerator and kind of venture builder that was creating digital companies in emerging economies. I was focusing mostly in Latin America. Then I came back to Spain and helped them launch companies and scale them at the early stages during the first few months until 30, 40, 50 people, and then we were moving on. That got me through different sectors and industries. I'm very happy about that, from food delivery to e-commerce, etc. And then after that, a little bit by happy accident, I became the CEO of a company that was making software for HR, thanks to Tony. And that's how I started, getting involved with people and talent topics. and and I never left afterwards. So I stayed there 2 years, and then I joined the African Leadership Group, which is where I'm at right now. I started off leading the talent acquisition division, where I work creating a new engine that would allow us to scale rapidly and globally. And now I recently transferred to leading culture and people experience. We're a full remote organization right now. So that's the nuance, and enjoy myself a lot. And I'm very, very happy to see you all. And I'm based in Mauritius right now, and near the coast of Madagascar, originally from Barcelona, but I'm joining you guys from here now. So it's 9:30 p.m. for me.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Michael. And also like to introduce a little bit myself. As you know, like my purpose is to help people and inspire people to have like a meaningful job for them and a job to be happy. And I do that by helping companies to share how is it working in their company, to share their brand, doing their employer branding and the email recruiting methodology. And also I help individuals and professionals to build their brand and also to achieve like other ways and to achieve a way to work that is meaningful for them. So, and like with these three different backgrounds, but super complementary, because Alex has been working in the purpose values of companies, making is like been working in the HR world as well, in the hiring, and now working in the culture and having this remote culture that I think a lot of companies will be like working on, and there's a big struggle as well to have like really committed people. And also my background that is more like in terms of communication, HR marketing, and inbound recruiting, employer branding. We come up with this thing because at the end we have like similar purposes that we think we want to change the way people see jobs. We will talk about this later on. But before we start with anything, as I told you, like we want you to participate, to take to be with us. And I would like to throw like an icebreaker questions with you. So I would love like if you can like comment on the chat. So will we like what has been the happiest day at your work? Like if you have any memory of like, okay, what is like the best memory like while working or in your job? What is that memory? What is that moment if you have any? So that will be like, I would love to know like your moments. I think it's a good way to remember, or if it's not the most, like one of the most, like it's not like a competition or anything. So that's sometimes it's difficult. So I'll be bringing your comments up in the screen. So I would love to see your comments. And while we wait for your comments, guys, I'll throw you these questions. So this time I'll start with Mickey. Mickey, what's been the happiest moment or the happiest day in your work life?
I don't know. It's hard to say. There's been several, I guess, through the years. I think that one that I remember from not so far ago is when I joined the African Leadership Group. It was probably like my second week in the company, and we went for a retreat in Kenya. And I remember it's funny enough because it was a Saturday. So my happiest day at work, I think it was in a weekend. And I never work on weekends, so it's quite funny, no? So the thing is that I just arrived, and the founder and CEO wanted to, onboard me properly personally. So he said, like, can you meet me on Friday? And we meet up, we discuss strategy, we discuss vision, and then he told me, like, look, can we actually meet up on Saturday again? I'm like, yeah, sure, absolutely. So we met. We were supposed to meet at lunchtime, and I ordered lunch. Nervous, new CEO, new founder, new company. And as I'm waiting, trying to relax and prepare a bit, he sends me a message and he says, look, I'm super late. I'm supposed to catch a plane, and we're going to take this meeting in my van on the way to the airport. And, he comes, I take like my lunch to go kind of, and then we jump in the van and we do the meeting in the van to the airport of Nairobi. And then we finished the meeting in the airport, and then we went back. And it was like such an enriching conversation. It was so spontaneous. And I remember that at that time, like the time stopped. Like I was just there, full aware. I didn't even know if it was Saturday, Sunday, or I didn't even know if I was in Nairobi or Europe or whatever. No? So I think that sensation of having his attention and mentoring and having this impact and voice in the shape and the future of the company was very important for me. And I think that made it, even though it was a Saturday, that made it a very, very special day for me. And I felt like I had this impact, and I felt like this. It's kind of like ownership of what I was doing and in this conversation with him.
Cool. Like it's well, I kind of share the feeling that I see in your eyes. So it's really cool. And I see like the first comment. So I encourage you to share it, like even if it's in one sentence. Obviously, there is Alvaro that is sharing with us like the happiest day was like when the first big client account opening. So all the great work from all the team was like done there. So that's one of the moments when you achieve after working hard. You achieve what you wanted, or you see coming into reality this kind of stuff. Like for us, like a little bit today, that is like finally after 1 year and a half planning this initiative, like finally we come up with this. So I invite you like to share with us in the chat as well. Thanks, Alvaro, for sharing. I would really appreciate. And also, Alex, what has been your happiest day at work?
So there's a few, but the one that pops into my mind, the quickest one that popped into my mind was I remember one day. It's actually funny because I was working at the consulting. I was working for a bank. I don't like banks too much, but I was taking one of those early taxis in the morning to get there. It was a bank outside of Madrid. And I remember my mom called me. It was maybe 8 a.m. I probably have slept like 6 hours or 5 hours that day because there was a ton of work to be done. And my mom called me at 8 a.m. or something like that, which is very strange. And I got a little concerned. It's like, why my mom is calling me at 8 a.m. on I don't know, it was a Wednesday or a Thursday or God knows. And she was like extremely emotional. And she was like something like, I'm very proud of you. It's like, what the hell? Why are you proud of me? And at that day, it was the day that we did the social project in the Philippines. It was the day that we released, so that the project went live, and we did a lot of stuff there. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there. And I don't know, that feeling of first of all, of having done something that makes your mother proud and also yourself proud, and also that feeling of you're driving a little bit. It was a very small thing, but still driving a little bit of impact and helping others. That in a way or another was a very happy moment, and it forced me to reshape my thinking towards work. Right, what does work mean, and how can I bring these emotions or that feeling into my day-to-day life? And that's probably what led then to generate other social projects and try to redefine my work life.
Fantastic. So like well, it was like the mix of this kind of stuff, not expecting it. So
exactly,
that's good. And for me, it was when I asked Mickey, just like what is your day? So classic. So like really fun. I think like one of the like first I'm gonna go with Angela that I was sharing also the comment, and then I'll go with my.
So you have some more time to think, eh?
Yeah. So Angela was like when I shared with the EMEA team that I was pregnant, and we had a party after all day meetings. So it was great. So Angela, like thanks for sharing this. Like when you bring like your personal life as well into your job, that at the end is like there's not two separate lives. Like it's one together. So I think like that moment is really cool as well. And thanks, Angela, for sharing. And also, like for me, I will say like probably the day that I just come to my mind, the day that we launched the inbound recruiting methodology when I was back in Talent Club, because we've been working in that methodology for quite a while, and it was like an idea that come up one day in the living room with my friends, and then we bring to the office next day with the marketing team, and then we start working with the idea and we start refining it for I don't know, it was like 3 months or something like this, and talking to customers. And then when we did like the first webinar, I remember like we have like more than, I don't want to say like maybe it were like more than 1,000 signups for the webinar. We're more like almost 500 attendees. So it was like really crazy. So it was like, wow, this is a reality, and we are like, and here we are still. So yeah, like I think it's similar to what Alvaro was saying. That this. So. Well, it was a little bit like to get to know a little bit each other, so that's good. And I think now we can go deep into the topic that we have today. Today we wanted to share with you how can we get like employees turned into owners, how we can work in order to have our employees become more engaged with our company, become more compromised, that to know that when we are not looking, they are taking the best decision for the company and for themselves as well. And more in these times that we don't have the people in front of us and we have to trust. So like to be like with the tranquility that we can trust people. So for this, like we have like a framework that we've been building, and now I'll be sharing with you. And I hope that this framework can evolve. Like we've been working in this framework, I'll say like for almost 2 years, and we've been like thinking about the steps, because at the end, like for me, it was really useful to have a framework when I was working in inbound recruiting, and I think it helps like to see the overall view. So if you want, like I can share. I don't know. Before we share, like I would love to explain what is Quared and why we call it Quared and what is the movement Get Quared, and then we go to the framework. So Mickey, could you explain us what is like the Get Quared movement and why we created this?
I'll try. Thank you, Tony. And I think that this is something that keeps evolving. And so there's no static definition of what it is. And I'm sure that the community will help us redefine it. But initially, it came out of a realization that we had a little issue. No, it's like we saw it in ourselves maybe, and we saw it in people surrounding us. And like there, for some reason, work is not enjoyable. People just don't have a healthy relationship with work oftentimes, and it feels like it's like a means to an end. Like I'm having another life, and work helps me get to that life because it gives me the resources. But the work in itself is not an end. It doesn't bring me awareness. It doesn't bring me meaning. And so we started digging into that. And it's like, what's going on? Why is that? And I think that we went back in time a little bit, and we started to understand where we also like at the intersection of philosophy and business, where we love to engage there. So we started to try to understand where we come from and why are people sometimes disengaged. Why are companies maybe not contributing to the missions of people enough, and why are people not contributing to the missions of companies enough? Of course, there's always exceptions, and take everything we say with a pinch of salt, no? But we thought that there was room for improvement, and we went back and it's like, okay, from when the time where we were hunter-gatherers and then we moved into the agricultural revolution, for instance, well, work was different. As hunter-gatherers, we're working for fewer hours probably, and we had different tools and different techniques. Then we moved to the agricultural revolution, and we had to change. The same rules didn't apply, the same formats and management. Well, there was no management, no, but work rules or systems didn't apply, so we had to shift. Then from that, we moved to the Industrial Revolution. Again, there was a shift. Everybody moved to the cities. There was a lot of control by inputs. We needed to, for instance, when we came up with a car for mass production, for that to happen, we needed economies of scale. So for that to happen, we needed to produce X number of cars so that the price of cars would go down thanks to economies of scale, and then everybody could have a car. So for that to happen, Michael, Alex, or Tony, if they were working at a factory, they needed to, turn that screw X amount of times every minute or every hour, because otherwise it was not possible to produce that. No, so it was a management system that was really designed for efficiency. It was really based on inputs. It was a bit based on fear, a little bit, because somebody had to tell Michael, Tony, and Alex that if they didn't do it for 20 times instead of 25 times, they were fired, because the whole production then failed and we couldn't produce the cars. So it was like a bit of control of where you are, what do you do, all the inputs in your life. No, so it was like entering the factory and kind of like losing a bit your freedom, no, in a way. But it was beneficial at the time. It was important. We had to do it this way, and it's part of the evolution. And then the last part, the last evolution, the last age or area we entered it's the information age. And in the information age, it's far more important to innovate. It's far more important to create than screwing a screw for 30 or 50 or 60 times a minute. No, so with this new paradigm, where the most important thing sometimes is to keep advancing and to advance to be one step ahead of the competition. Sometimes we need to be creative. We need to empower our staff to be creative as well. But we seem to be still applying the same methods of the past and the same management approach of the past. So that got us to think, like, what's wrong, what's broken with that approach? No, there's things that are okay, but there's some things that maybe we can revisit. And that's how Quared was born. Quared comes from Quare. Quare means why in Latin, and it means why because of our influence by Simon Sinek, no, and the Golden Circle, but we realized that one of the most important things that work can do is add meaning to people, to a person's life. It's not the only source, but it can be a great source of meaning for a person's life. No? So it's like, it's very important to define your why and define a bit your life mission. And then it's important for companies to do the same and then connect at that level. And if we do that, great things can happen. No? But that wasn't enough. And then we came up with the realization that, companies needed to adopt new approaches to work. They needed to give probably more freedom, work more based on outputs than inputs, and give this empowerment to the teams and to the staff so that they could start creating. So that's how Quared was born. I'm sure it will evolve. I'm sure that if I tell you this same story tomorrow, it will be a little different. But that's in essence what's behind this movement.
Thank you, Mickey. I don't know, Alex, if you want to add anything.
Maybe just a couple of thoughts so I don't think I can explain it any better than Mickey did, but just a couple of thoughts. So the first one is, it's funny when we're trying to construct companies and we start putting a lot of effort in this work-life balance. It feels weird that we need to do or develop or launch efforts like this ones. It means that I think something is fundamentally wrong, because I think that the things you get in life, you should also be able to get them at work, right? This community, this belonging, this meaning. Why can't you get these things at work? At the end, we spend 1/3 or half of our lives working. So it feels weird, and I think, as Mickey was saying, we can do much better. In my arena, so with my, let's say, more consulting mind, what I'm fundamentally obsessed is in this equation on how can we make companies happier and more productive places. I think what we need to solve for is for these two things at the same time. I think a lot of HR has been focused on, let's make employees happy, but let's understand that companies still need to be productive, still need to be profitable to make them sustainable, right? So I think what Quared aims to solve for is exactly this. How do we make companies, at the same time productive and happier and better places for people?
Fantastic. And for me, probably is like, okay, I just like see, and I talk to a lot of people when I do employer branding projects, and I see like there's people that they just rent their time. So I just go there, work for some money in order to start living my life. But in the other side, when I do projects, that usually I interview the people that is the most committed and the most like wonderful employees in the company. They all talk about, they see the company, that they belong there. They see like they are super compromised because of the people, because how they are treated, they feel taken care of. And it's like, okay, we have to manage some way in order to like all the people can work in a company, that they just don't work for the money, they work for something else, and they have a meaningful time while they work. They're not just starting living their life after they leave their job, because it's not like it's a life spent. Half of your life is just like renting your time in order to have money to live the rest of your life, which is like not so much left. So that will be like the idea of how I see it as well. So, and now, yes, I would love to share the framework. I would love to say, well, okay, from this idea that Mickey was sharing and we were talking about, how we can apply this to companies, how we can make it real, and it's not just like talking ideas. If not, okay, let's go deep into that. So I'm gonna be sharing the screen, and I'm gonna sharing like this framework of like 6 steps. And Alex, maybe you can like explain us a little bit the overall view of the framework. What is it? And then we can go deep in each area. And as well, like if you have any questions about this, you have any comments, you have like different views, I would love to have your input in this. And also, like Gianluca was sharing, like that organizations, especially HR, should begin to understand that passion, performance, and productivity and commitment to work begin first with respect for life. And I think that that is something that companies now with this situation are start getting to see, like, okay, now there's more things that we need to manage, and happily there's more and more people that is talking about this, and start like trying to get, hey, it's important to make sure that people is happy in their life in order to have like better results in your company as well. So this is like well, I think we're aligned in this vision, but we wanted to bring like a practical, like that we tend to be like super practical. We want to give you tools in order to implement everything. So this framework is like, okay, Tony, Alex, Mickey, how we make this a reality. So this framework will be like the start, like the cornerstone of achieving it, and then we'll dig deeper in every step. So Alex, can you walk us a little bit about the framework, and then we dig deeper?
Yes. I'd love to. Again, I'm just going to touch on the key things here. I think in today's webinar we're going to touch a little more in some of the topics, and in the following ones, hopefully we can dig way deeper here. There's a lot of information here. I think essentially our thinking stems from the a little bit the idea of reciprocity, right? And as Mickey was saying, we like to link philosophy with business. And what we believe in is, look, if you want to get, you need to give, right? If you want employees to care about your company, you need to care about them. And I think that's how essentially you create an owner. I remember when we were posting this and people said, yeah, just give them shares. Yeah, okay, give them shares is one thing, but probably is definitely not enough. But there's a lot of things. So we're essentially building a system where, as you can see in the left and in the right, you need to get purpose, you need to get fit, and essentially you need to give fit and you need to give purpose on your employees. On this matching, on this reciprocity, we believe is where everything starts to build. So we divide our framework in 3 stages. The first one is, we call it owner discovery. You need to understand, what do you actually need as a company? What do you need to get from your employees? The second one is, okay, once you're clear on what you need to get, you need to be able to find and recruit those people. You need to ensure that whoever gets into your community, we like to call it community, not companies, is the right partner for that, is motivated by the same things, and is a fit for your culture. And then the third thing is, okay, once the people are inside, you need to make sure you give them that fit. You empower them to do, and also you transform them into orders by also giving them that purpose, that meaning. So in essence is this, in the different, and now we're going to talk about the specific things, but we believe it's extremely key to define your purpose as an axis, as what do you do for society? Why should your company exist, right? What is the thing? What is the value that you're adding for the people? And then second of all, you need to find out the 2 things that will make your company really fit. So it's how do you achieve that purpose? We believe it's a combination of values and capabilities or skills, right? Values essentially is what you value. I always bring the example of Pixar. These guys are about making movies. You require creativity. So one of their values is creativity, right? And when we talk about capabilities, we also like to think about core capabilities. What are those things that you need to be really good at? When this is clear, you need to go to the market, right? And attract the candidates. And Tony's a master at this, and on his philosophy on inbound recruiting, right? It's creating a machine that attracts exactly the people that you need, and also through employer branding. And once this is clear, Mickey is going to teach us all about predictive hiring, right? How can you ensure that match through a great interviewing process? How can you ensure that match happens? It's through a lot of evaluations and processes and real life cases. I think you call them, Mickey, right? And also we like a lot the principle of relational hiring instead of transactional, right? We do believe that it's a 2 sides game. You need, at the end, you need to also make sure that you're attractive for the candidates. And also we like to think a lot, we like to put a lot of emphasis on missions, right? You need to make sure that people get into a mission and that mission is aligned to your purpose. So once this is clear, you get partners, okay? The right people for your organization. And then the key is to move those partners into stars. And we believe that process is about giving fit. And here we touch about 2 axes. One is emergent leadership. We believe that we need to fundamentally transform what does a leader mean. We like to think the leaders at the end are people that empower their teams. They're not managers. They're people that seek change within the organization, at the end empower their teams. And we do believe that the approach to development or learning needs to change. It needs to be way more personalized. It needs to be real time. And these are the things that we're going to touch upon with different concepts like the peer-to-peer learning, all those platforms, and so on and so forth. And last, how do you move from stars to owners, right? We do believe that there's 2 axes to touch upon. The first one is, to create an owner, you need to feel that you're important for the organization, right? That I am a key person for that organization, that sense of importance. And second of all, you need to feel that you're contributing to a cause that is bigger than yourself, and that is purpose, right? You need to feel important in the organization, and you need to feel that you connect to the bigger or the larger purpose of the organization. We do believe that, again, it is a super high level, but these are the different steps that you need to take in order to create owners.
Yeah, I think like super high level, but like because you were like explaining the steps, like okay, we have like so much to talk about every step, but I think like today, like since we plan to do this like for an hour, and we want to leave some time at the end for your questions. So if you have questions, you have like your thoughts, you try several stuff that work for you, like we will love your input. So, but maybe we can like dig a little deeper. So Alex, I would like the first step for like getting owners is like, okay, what is the meaning, or what is your meaning, or what is the purpose of the company? So why is this important? And second is like, if we can explain it in 2 minutes, how can a company can find their purpose if they don't know it already?
Let me give an example on why purpose is important. At the end, you need to focus on that need that will not change. So if you, for example, there's the example of Nokia. So if you define Nokia as a company that just makes phones, phones will become obsolete because there will come smartphones. Instead, Nokia, remember, that was connecting to the need, right? Which was, if you remember well, Nokia was Nokia connecting people, right? In a certain moment, for a reason I do not know, they started focusing on creating smaller phones. So they stopped, in a world that is changing, they stopped focusing on the real need for consumers. And then Apple came with smartphones and they connected people better. So they were better at defining their purpose. So in essence, in a world that is constantly changing, it's very, very important that you connect to that need that will not change, and you find what is the best way to to drive that need. So connecting people is definitely one of the needs of Microsoft around empowering people and organizations. How to define your purpose? That's probably a very, very long conversation. But I think it's very, very critical that you put the customer in mind, the consumer in mind. Is like, actually, what do you want to provide to that consumer, and what are the different levers that you wanna touch? Just a very quick example, Decathlon. I always put the same one. My friends make fun of it, but I think it's an easy one, right? So Decathlon is about making sport accessible. So how do they define? So that's their purpose. So it's important because they work on the axis of affordability, of good and technical products, on innovation, right? So you need to define your purpose from the axis of value creation. Again, remember that we're looking at companies that we want them to make them more sustainable and more productive.
Great. And then like once you have like this purpose, that at the end it's gonna be like your North Star, no, like guiding you where you have to go. Then it's like the part of get fit. So what is your get fit is like defining the talent you need, no? And so what is these capabilities and values? Because everybody talks about values, everybody talking about this kind of stuff, but sometimes it's more like something that we feel we need to talk, but is how is that key?
So again, very, very short, but take a brain, right? There's the right side and the left side. I don't remember which one does what, but at the end, you need to have the emotional side of things, right? Or what we like to call the values, and then more the hard skills, which are the capabilities. So when we talk about values, essentially is what do you value, right? I think it was Netflix CEO that used to say values are what we value from people, right? So again, maybe drilling down on the example of before, and Pixar is about making movies. To create a movie, you need 1,000 ideas, right? So you need to find out a way to create a culture of creativity so that it sparks those ideas, and that at the end will add to your value proposition and will add to your purpose. So defining values that are actually extremely strategic is very, very important. There's a lot of ways to do that. We'll cover them in future webinars, but it's very, very important that you define the strategic axis of your culture. At the end, I think companies will make or break from that micro behaviors, not from the macro strategies that are also important. And then on the second side, the capabilities. Here, just a small nugget, but what we do believe is that companies cannot be great at everything, right? You can always that quote from Aristotle, you can be good at anything, but you can't be the best at anything, or something like that. But at the end, the message here is one and very simple. Find out what you really need to be good at. For example, let's compare to companies, right? Nike and Decathlon. Nike at managing supply chain is not great, but at marketing and partnering with stars is absolutely great. On the other side, Decathlon, again, selling sportswear and stuff, is on the contrary, they're really, really good at managing their value chain because they need to be very efficient to drive that very affordable products, but they suck at marketing. They're really bad at marketing. All they put is, these billboards at the roads. So as a company, we do believe you need to focus your efforts and then your recruitment, and you need to have your best talent on those core capabilities. So identifying those is extremely, extremely key. And that is how we believe that you get fit, right? Finding out what your strategic values are, finding out what your core capabilities need to be, and then cascading this down into the organization.
Fantastic. And then it will come that's next step, like my part. It will be like because at the end it's like today goals was like, okay, how we get people that is has like the engagement and is like compromised with our company, or how we convert employees into owners. So we saw like the first step is like, okay, what is that I am now as a company, and defining that purpose, that values, and then also more in a strategic way, not more in the HR way, if not in the strategic way. It's like, okay, what are my core capabilities? That obviously, like all of these areas is both strategic and HR. And then it's like, imagine that we start a company, we come like the attract part. Okay, we have to explain, imagine like we are like this community. So we want to explain to the world our purpose. We want to explain to the world the people that we want in our community. And in order to have people to join that community, that at the end is like what we really want. So that when the employer branding and inbound recruiting comes, what this part wants is like to be able to share who are you as a company, in what you believe, and explain what you believe and what you want to achieve and what you have to offer for them. Because in this way, people can choose. And what helps like employer brand, the employer brand is defining the experience that somebody will live when they work in your company. So that with this is employer branding. And then comes inbound recruiting. That inbound recruiting wants to communicate this in order to people to figure it out before they come to apply to a job offer, or they come to your company, to know what will be living and working for you. Because sometimes like people don't have this information. They join a company and they see they messed up because they didn't know the culture, they didn't know what was expected, they didn't believe in anything. And then we have a lot of people stuck in jobs, because when you choose a job and you move from another one and you find out that you don't like it, just because you didn't have the information, then we are stuck with people that don't fit that. And that doesn't mean that people are bad. That doesn't mean that they are not good people. That means like they are in the wrong place and they're taking a space that maybe some people will love to work there. And the salary will be the same, and the stuff we are focusing right now will be the same. But just because we don't communicate that in our career page, in our job offers, in our social media, we are just touching superficial stuff and not the really deep stuff that make people committed. I think is like one of the things that at the end we don't have engaged employees, or we don't have engaged employees, workers, or owners, is because from the very beginning they didn't know what they were buying or where they were getting into. So I think that is the first part. So we have to get that part really well, like the part of the marketing, and then it comes the other part, is to match with partners, with the predictive and rational hiring that Mick will explain. That is about how we make sure that these people, we're gonna have a good partnership. So Mickey, can you explain a little bit about how is this partnership?
Yeah. So note that here the keyword being partner as opposed to employee or worker or any other kind of word that you might use. At the end of the day, I think that one of the big mistakes that we've made historically is to create a one-way direction when it comes to the partnership of companies and people. No, it feels like it's the companies who are choosing the people. It's the people who has to add the value for the companies. But sometimes the value doesn't flow as well in the other direction. So it doesn't end up being a partnership. It doesn't end up being a relationship. It's more transactional. No, I'm expecting some value from you in exchange of your time. I'll give you some money, and that's a transaction that we're gonna have. But this is not gonna evolve in a partnership because one of the two parts doesn't care as much for the other one. No, so there's no balance in that relationship. So I think that when it comes to matching, and once you attract the candidates to your door, and you get some people who are excited about the prospect of joining you, the first thing that you need to care about is about making it relational. That's the start of the relationship, or that's one of the, almost the start of the relationship. It started a bit before, but that's the start of the relationship that's gonna hopefully endure for years with that person. No? So it's great to invest in that relationship from the get-go. And if this is people who are not going to be joining our company, it's still important to build this relationship, because then these people can become, advocates of the company, can use the services of the products of the company. So it's always to your advantage to treat this as a relationship and to treat this as a partnership. So it's really important to focus on that since the beginning. As you're doing that, of course, you need to also evaluate the person, and you need to make sure that you're bringing in the people who will have the higher chances of succeeding in the context of your company. That's when we're saying predictive and relational, that's what predictive means. And predictive has like maybe two main ingredients. Number one is the structure. So it's really important that you give the structure. I saw Alex, right?
Tony's playing around, eh?
That's me. It's really to give a structure to your hiring processes. And by structure, first of all, we need to get the highest predictive tools that we can get in order to predict this future success of the person with us. There's a lot of research that shows that job simulations, which means bringing that person with you for 2 weeks, for 1 month, and having them work with you, of course, is the highest predictor of future job success. Another way in which we can do that is job assignments. We cannot bring the person for 2 weeks, for 1 month. That's unrealistic because the person is working somewhere else. Well, just create a meaningful, realistic, so it has real examples of the work, fun test or quiz or little assignment that you can send to the person and then have them go through that. There's a lot of people who are great at interviews. There's extroverts who are going to do better at interviews than introverts. It's going to be very difficult to tell the two apart sometimes. So it's always more predictive to use job simulations or job assignments. And then if you have to use interviews, because of course you will, then use structured interviews. And by structured interviews means that you're creating a set of behavioral questions. Behavioral questions is nothing more than using past behavior to predict future success. You use those questions and then follow-up questions to those across all candidates. So you really define the same questions for all candidates so that there's no one candidate that went through a different experience than the other, one candidate that was evaluated in a different way. And for that to happen, the last ingredient that you need is a rubric. So you need to assess the answer that the candidates are giving you to each question through a rubric. So then you know exactly how to evaluate the answer that they are giving you. Finally, the data component. Data is really important, and the data you get it from the employees or the partners that are already in your company or community. Those people who have been working with you for a while, they will give you data on performance and engagement that then can help you refine your hiring process and reinform the questions that you use, the steps that you use during the selection process. The last thing I'm going to say on the relational aspect is one topic that is mentioned on the book by the founder of LinkedIn, Reid Hoffman, the alliance. It's about creating this alliance with the person. It's not a contract. It's not you will do A, B, or C, sign here, and I'll get you money in exchange. It's actually a partnership in which both, based on the value and their missions, agree on a set of activities, on a set of outcomes that they pursue together. And by the way, this is something that can be revisited after this initial, what they call in the book, tour of duty is finished after 2 months, after 2 years, 3 years, etc. So predictive and relational, it's the only way I think to create these partners who are the seat of the future stars and owners.
Fantastic, Mickey. And I just want to add, because you were talking about this, and the other day we were having a discussion about how to hire senior talent, and because a lot of companies, they are like afraid that they're not going to match or whatever, and we were just like talking as one of the possible solutions was the job simulation. It's like, okay, bring that person to do like the job, and you will see how that person will develop. Because sometimes we have like so much expectations, and we create an expectation based on what just we talk on. Oops, what? Sorry, like I was thinking it was mute. So so we're thinking about this. It's like, okay, just because the information that we have in the interview, just like by talking and answering and doing questions, sometimes it's not the best predictor, and we have to start to doing more creative stuff. Even though we are not accustomed to do this, we have to see that, okay, like let's invest a little bit more of time at the beginning in order to ensure that this person will be happy and we'll be happy with this person as well. And it will be like super cool when we talk about this, Mickey.
And Tony, one thing really quick here. It's not about one person not being good enough for a company. It's about defining between the two parts, whether or not that company is the best fit for that person, and whether or not that can be successful in that context. It's not about you're not good enough. This is not the best fit. Go search something else that can be the best fit for you.
Exactly. If I didn't get that correct, it's like I see And now that I'm an entrepreneur, like a freelance, let's call it, or solopreneur, call it whatever, I think when I do projects, it's more like a collaboration. And we say, okay, is this a good project for me? Is I'm the best person for you? It's like we will be enjoying this, because if not, like, okay, let's not do it, because both parts we won't be happy. And that's what usually happens. It's like when we put one person in a position that doesn't, the people is not happy, the team is not going to be happy, that person is not going to be happy. I give like the same example. It's like, imagine a bartender that sees a job offer of a bartender, and we just like give a quick introduction about like the job, and probably like if they go have to wear a bow or a not really boring bar, and this person is young, they will be working there, but they will not be happy, because I'm working as a bartender, but since I didn't know and didn't have the information about how we will be working in that bar, I just started there. I'm not happy. The customers are not happy. My boss is not happy. So nobody's happy. If I had the information that the bar will be like this, I would choose another bar that probably the environment I would love. And for the same salary, the same schedule, I'll be much happier, because I enjoy and people will enjoy with me, and the boss will be happier and everybody will be happier. So I think that's what, when we match like the owner hiring, is what we have to make sure that when we start doing this partnership, people is happy. And then to introduce the third part, like the owner's management, I think there is like an amazing question from Angie from LinkedIn that he was telling us. Purpose is definitely a key element to engage people into the business. And I find the whole cycle very interesting, but I see that the next step after purpose will be getting the talent. My question then is, what about the people who's already in the company? Some strategies should also focus on developing culture and purpose in everyday tasks, as an everyday task. So thank you, Angie, because this is the perfect introduction. Obviously, we are not in a situation that we have to hire like employee number one or employee number two. So most of the companies that already have the employees. So I'm not going to be explaining it. I'll let Mickey, Alex explain. Like, okay, what about like the give fit? How we can work our purpose, our culture in our everyday life, and how we can get our current employees to live that purpose, to live that culture, and to have them engage in the company.
Excellent. So, Tony, great. And I think that the question is exactly at this point, right? So at the end, if you think about it, when cascading down the purpose and the values, you can do tactical stuff. So, for example, having an army of ambassadors, but at the end, the fundamental change that you will make beyond the hiring, obviously, and the onboarding is across, we believe, 3 levers in a way. One of them is leadership. You need to touch upon leadership. You need to fundamentally align your leaders there. The second one is you need to change all those HR processes. So essentially the development, all the performance reviews and all these things. And that's what we mix here between the power governance and the talent-centric learning. And the third element is obviously you need to touch upon communication. We do fundamentally believe that you need to change the communication from more, financial metrics, which is probably where a lot of companies focus on, into more impact metrics and the impact that you're generating through your purpose. So I'm just going to quickly touch upon 2 of them, and then Mickey, you can definitely complement from your experience. So, for example, in talent-centric learning, we believe that current development models are completely obsolete, right? They're very static, they're not individualized, and we do believe that in a world that is constantly changing and where people have these missions in the companies, there's so much more than you can do. Just to give some examples, right? We do believe that learning has to be a combination of several axes and definitely not people in classrooms. One of them is obviously leadership and mentoring. Your leader needs to be your first teacher, right? They needs to provide a lot of mentoring. Then you should leverage the whole network of the company, all your peers. And there's 2 lenses here, right? There's all the peer-to-peer learning. So for example, Google, I think 85% of the courses that people do are developed by their own people at Google. So there's so much knowledge within the company that you can leverage upon to learn. You don't need to go elsewhere. So there's a lot here. And the second one is obviously a very classical one, but I think not a lot of companies crack, which is feedback, real-time feedback. How do you create a culture where there is ongoing feedback for ongoing improvement? And I think the third lens is, and here's where you can make learning very individualized and also very real-time, is there's all these new platforms, all these digital platforms, for example, Edcast, or LinkedIn Learning. There's thousands of courses there. So for the tiniest thing that you want to learn, you just go into one of these platforms, also Coursera or whatever, and you can get all these learnings. I think it was Naval that quoted, no, it's not the resources that are scarce, but the desire to learn. So as a community, as a company, you need to make sure that you generate that curiosity. And I think that has a lot to do with leadership. Miguel, I'm not sure if you want to touch on leadership now.
Yeah. And to Angie's question, I think that it's important to also have a kind of like a culture code, but that is not only like the one that we see from Netflix or from HubSpot that is great for the outside, but a culture code that is actually applicable for the inside as well. No, and for me, a culture code means having a set of behaviors that are linked to the values. So when you're asking, how can the people who are already in the company that might not have been evaluated like properly for those values, et cetera, or that entered when those values were not even that defined. I think that once you have those values, what you have to do is lend those values and link them to behaviors that can be applicable in the day-to-day. So it's like, how do I act in scenario X? Or what do I do when a customer tells me Y? Or what do I do when in a meeting? So it's those set of behaviors that actually link to the values and that act as a clear guideline on how to behave on the day-to-day. So that if the CEO goes on an island for a vacation for 3 months, it's okay because people know how to behave. People are empowered. People know what to do in every different situation. So I think that's a very important point. And then the role, Alex, what you were saying about the role of the emergent leadership, which is, by the way, a wording that we borrowed from Google, like many other things that we came up with here. There's a great book, by the way, by Laszlo Bock, the former SVP People Operations at Google, that it's amazing work, rules. Somebody maybe can put it on the chat. But one of the things that Google refers to is emergent leadership as one of the key things that they evaluate when people are entering Google. And what we adopted that concept, and maybe we modified it a little bit, but what we mean by emergent leadership is a servant leadership. Is a leader that's there to serve the staff, to serve the team. The leader who is a facilitator, a leader who, one of the main roles of that leadership is setting clear, helping, not setting for themselves, but helping the staff and the team set clear goals, and then helping them link those goals to the goals of the team, to the goals of the department, to the goals of the organization. So setting this direction is one of the most important things that a leader can do these days. And the other thing is facilitation. A leader is nothing more, nothing less than roadblock clearing. Like there's a challenge. Well, come to the leader, and the leader is gonna, get you a way around it. And is gonna, talk to X, Y, or Z. It's gonna help you clear that challenge. And these are some of the most important things that a leader can do. It's important where you get to, but it's also important how you get there. And a leader should help you do that. So I think that these are some of the most important things that the leadership team should do in a company these days to actually link to the learning component, be able to develop stars for the company.
And then like the stars is like the previous step, when you have this to become and to have owners. And later we can go to the question and you have questions. So although you like to touch, okay, and when we have stars, when we have like people that is led in this way, we have people that is developing in this way, how we get them to become owners, how we get them to feel like the company is like their own, how we get like these people that no matter what, they are like engaged and loyal to the company and they want the best for the company and not just for themselves. Like what will be like, we have like this impact communication and also power governance. Do you want to comment on that?
So yeah, very happy. Let me touch upon the impact communication. It's funny because I don't know why, and it's hard for us as maybe we're not that young anymore, but as maybe younger people, it's funny how hard it is for organizations to communicate on impact. We're so used to communicate on financials and we're going to reach 3 billion and I don't know, whatever profit. And I honestly don't know who gets turned on by that. Who gets turned on by, the company is going to reach 3 billion euros. Okay, yeah, fine. No, I mean, maybe the owner is going to be, a lot wealthier, but there's a whole lack of meaning there, right? So what we do believe is that companies need to make a big effort, and it's hard for companies to do it in terms of transforming the way you communicate, right? Trying to communicate more on why you do what you do, the impact you generate, how you relate with each other. And that's what we call impact communication. And impact communication needs to stem from all the organization. And we know that communication used to be, a CEO job or a leader job or a communication department job. We fundamentally believe that it needs to be an everybody's job. So we like a lot those tools, for example, Workplace, that enable peer-to-peer communication. So the colleagues that are in the field, the colleagues that are close to to your customers, the colleagues that are close, for example, to your value chain, to your suppliers, all these people need to communicate the impact that you're generating, right? Your salespeople need to say, hey, I sold this to this customer and this customer was amazed by what we do. That is what generates proudness and meaning and impact. We do believe that we need to bring that impact way closer to the day-to-day. Our jobs might be doing PowerPoints, might be doing Excels, but ultimately that Excel or that PowerPoint will help the company achieve something. We need to connect people with that, and that's what we call by impact communication.
Fantastic. Here, I think the HR marketing, which is the things will become more and more popular, because sometimes we communicate without doing marketing. At the end, marketing is a better way to communicate to our stakeholders. In this case, is our potential customers. But at the end, it's in order to have engaged customers, you do marketing to them. You should do marketing as well in a more strategic way to your employees. At the end, is the other customers you have. And I think right now, when we do internal communications, for instance, and we use internal social media, we throw the communications. We don't track anything. We don't we just want to communicate this message and we throw it. And we don't have this mindset of marketeers. It's okay, how do I get that message so people get what I want to communicate and get action, and I track it and I see it in a more strategic way. So as you said, and also use this communication in order to show the impact of everyone and show the behavior you want to kind of elicit in order to, because if not, we have really plain internal communication, and right now when people is not in the company and is in their homes or remote, that is the most powerful tool, and sometimes is overlooked. And well, another chapter, Mickey can give us more feedback on this, because obviously they are a full remote company, so for sure we'll have a lot of best practices. And I would love to know 1 minute, what is this power governance?
We still don't know. It's on the making. No, I'm joking. So yeah, for sure we're gonna have a conversation on remote in the future. I love it, and I love how it came personally in my life, and it helped me have a really balanced life where I don't make distinctions between work and life. And it's not a negative thing. It's one thing that people say, then work gets into your life as a monster. No, it gets you and makes you unhappy. We figured that there's a lot of ways for that not to happen. So I'm very happy to do that in the future in another talk. But for today, you were talking about communicating the impact. Well, the most important thing to be able to communicate the impact is to actually get the people to have impact. And the way we figured out the African Leadership Group to do that is by borrowing a couple of ideas from the likes of Spotify or Amazon and these guys. And what we did is structure ourselves in a way that makes sense for the customer, because we want to be customer obsessed. So in our case, we develop young leaders. Okay, we're an educational company. We develop young leaders in Africa, and we have this big purpose of developing 3 million of them. And what we do is we do not have a marketing department. What we have is a young leader selection tribe. We don't have a product team. What we have is a young leader delivery team. So we have these teams that are actually aligned with what we do, and as the first steps to become a customer obsessed company. So that's the first thing that we do. And then we make small teams. We break the teams down so that and like Amazon says, like Jeff Bezos, who just stepped down, says, a team needs to be able to be fed with 2 pizzas. Otherwise, it's too big to have an impact. Nobody can have a voice if the team is bigger than that. No? So we have smaller teams, but we give those teams the key tools that they need to have an impact and be customer obsessed. We have one person who wears the hat of customer of experience. So he's an expert in designing experiences for the customers. One person who's the expert on data to be analyzing what's happening and to be refining. and one person who is an expert in systems, so that everybody in that team has the systems that will enable them to have the impact that they want to have. No? So by having smaller teams, by connecting the teams, not having the typical teams, but connecting them a bit more to what is it that you're doing, we kind of like make it a bit easier for people to have an impact and to be connected to the purpose of the company. No? So I think that that's one of the most important things on governance. And then you need to empower those teams. We were talking, I remember when Quared was born, and I'll finish now, I know we're a bit late, but when Quared was born, we were reflecting in ourselves even. And I remember making a reflection on my father, who's owning a construction company. He was like, my father is the happiest person alive. Like, he loves his job, like he loves his company, he loves his craft. And we were reflecting, well, maybe his ultimate purpose in life was not construction, it could have been something else. But what mattered is that he had an impact. So he actually had a voice. He was the CEO of his company. He had an ownership over his destiny. And I think that that's what people need in life. No? So how we create mini companies within the bigger company of, so that people can be empowered, so that everybody almost in the company can be a CEO and make their own decisions. So I think that's one of the ways to do it. And of course, there's more stuff, and I'll be happy to discuss that in the future sessions. But that's a start.
A good start, then.
That's a start. So now we're gonna go into the questions. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask us. You can ask us in you can put it in Spanish or in English. Either way, like, we're gonna be happy to answer them. And also, like, quick, like, I just share in the comments a little quick survey if you could fill it in order to improve for next sessions, because usually we do talks, but no, we don't put frameworks and stuff like this, and we wanted to know if it was useful this way. And also, I want to touch in one question that we got from YouTube from Paula Romero. He was saying great at all, guys. So I'd like to get your opinion about the difference between culture fit and culture add. What's your approach on this when attracting and hiring the most appropriate talent? So maybe Mickey, you can give us your view into that. I just leave the questions into this, and then I can give my little bit as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and because it's proved, and it's proven that actually diverse companies are more successful. So you don't want to end up with the same person replicated times 50 times 100 times 1000. No? So I think that there's the tricky side of the culture fit is ending up getting the same type of person across the company, and that's not doing a lot of benefit for you. I think that you gotta have the core values, no? So you have those core values. That's gonna be 3-4 things that are real, that are true, and that will help the people working in that company be successful. But then you have another set of things, another level that we can call principles, we can call mindsets. And I think that each team within a company will have a different set of mindsets that are not, are complementary to those values. So they don't cancel any of those values, but that rather they add to those. No? So I think that by having those different sets of mindsets across your organization, making sure you hire different backgrounds as well, and you don't get you also have, and a very important thing that you have to do is to prevent managers from hiding replicas of themselves, which is something that sometimes happens, and that's happening a lot. So one thing that you can do at the end of your hiring process, you have a calibration stage. In that calibration stage, you get senior people from other teams that have absolutely no interest in that hire being made, that don't have any interest in that hire being the same person as his or her manager. So that helps you control a little bit over those replicas that managers sometimes might default into doing. No? So I think that's a bit of how you can attempt to control that.
And in my side, for attracting talent for this, when I do when we do employer brand and inbound recruiting projects, we create we have this purpose that Alex was defining, because at the end okay, how do you want the ads, where, in which area, you can do it strategically, or you can just be aware of, okay, we need diversity. What we try to do is okay, let's share your vision, let's share your purpose, let's share your employee value proposition in a way that, hey, let's talk to all different employees in your company, the ones that they are like engaged in your company, and then you can choose already the diversity there. For instance, now I'm doing a project and we use diversity of ages, diversity of zones, because different zones, they have like even different cultures. So we interview the people from all over, and then what we gather is like all the things that they told us that they have in common, because at the end you see that a lot of people is working for the same stuff. So instead of sharing just the culture and the pictures, that can be like a bit dangerous, because then you can like show and attract more people like this. What we try to share is like an employee value proposition built with all the employees, and based on their opinions and based on their views and based on their different cultures. And when you communicate that, and not just like focusing on little details and focusing on little stuff that a lot of companies right now are like falling into, that no, we can communicate like the afterwards we do, the activities we do. And it seems like if you are not doing this, or you don't feel like doing this, you don't belong to that company. We try to go above this, and we try to share like what people really value, and we try to get like the opinion in everyone in the company with different ages, different different demographics, because at the end is like the representation of your company. So my guess is like, don't build your employer brand based on the C-level. Don't build your employer brand in attracting based on the director's opinion. If not, ask an interview like a different people in your company, and then advertise that. Build your employer brand with this. So this, like, you make sure that what you are like communicating is real, is honest, and is like more diverse, and it's not like just like everyone is the same. So and I wanted to know like if there's another questions. I'm checking.
Yeah, I think there's one from Angela.
Angela Martins is telling us all the insights are very useful, but to understand the add value of this approach instead of the others that we find in the market, can you focus on this topic? I don't know, like if it's what are the other models, but I don't know, guys, if you like have like an idea to answer this question.
I think if I got it correctly, otherwise, Angela, feel very free to correct me. But this, how we approach this, is not a zero-sum game. Like, we come here to add value to the kind of like, call it HR talent workspace, and in bringing new ideas to the table. We figure that there's a new age, and there's not enough new ideas to actually adapt to that new age of working with what we said at the beginning, with the information age. So we come here to bring new ideas. Not all of them are going to be perfect. Maybe not all of them are going to work for each company. So, you can take little things from us. You can take little things from the different parts of the framework. Once we go deeper into each part, you'll see how there's many concepts into each of those little boxes. So it might be that for you, there's only like a couple of frameworks, sub frameworks that work for you, and then you apply those and you merge those into your bigger system that maybe isn't follows another approach, and that works perfect for you. So I think that what we're trying to do here is to bring new ideas, but not to say if you don't do this, you're failing. That's not what we're saying, because each reality is very, very different. So I think what we're trying to say is, here's a set of ideas, and because we feel like there's not enough right now coming up to adapt work to the new age. From these ideas, get what is useful for you, try what is useful for you, drop what it doesn't work, and give us feedback, and then we will keep refining with you guys. But this framework is not aimed to be better than another one. It's just bringing new ideas to the table and adding value, hopefully.
And I was saying, like, okay, we want for this to be a movement, and also like to be a community. So if you have, Angela, if you have new ideas, you have like things that can add value to this, please reach to us. Soon we will be able maybe like to go into a community that we have like an ongoing conversation. But as I said, like, I think we can continue inside like this post in the comments. So if you have another view, you can maybe share the content here, and then we can comment and continue the conversation afterwards, more in the chat. And I think it can be interesting. And and also and we can keep like the conversation in the chat, because obviously, as Miki said, like we want to have more inputs into this in order to share and add value to the HR community, because at the end, as Miki was saying, like the situation is changing. I think in other worlds, like in marketing, in finance, and in people is sharing much more, and in HR, I think everyone is doing the work in their own by their own, and we don't share like, okay, how you're struggling with this, let's work together in this. And that is a little bit our purpose with this, with the Get Quared movement, like to add, and the more people that we can add, the more people that can comment, and we can like be together, the better.
Yeah, and Tony, just to add here, to walk our talk, in order to have ownership, we need to feel that we're having impact, and to feel that we need to be connected to our customers. So please share as much feedback as you can. Tell us everything that you might feel like can be a good addition for us. We shared, I think, Tony, you shared the link to the little survey. It takes like 3 clicks to complete. And those things are the things that are going to make us better. I'm sure that we're going to be looking back 1 year, 2 years time, and we're gonna feel a bit different from then. So it's going to be through you guys, and it's going to be thanks to you. So we're just like starting the movement, but the movement is through you guys.
Yeah. So I think like we can wrap up a little bit with, because we said 1 hour and we're a bit of it ahead. Could you we wrap up with one idea that like that? So in order to say bye, like what one idea of today you want to stick out? Maybe we can start with Alex.
This is completely unexpected, and you're starting with me this time, I don't know. I stick to Mickey's idea, not to sound too selfish, about that. I do believe that the world or the management system needs a change. I think that we're still managing with the same old rules that maybe we're managing. I think companies today are still a lot like factories. Right now I'm reading a book by Seth Godin that talks about companies that are like factories. Recommend the book, Tribe. And I think there's so much to do here. There's so much potential in redefining all these processes, right? How you hire, how you onboard, how you define your leaders, what does it mean to be a leader, how do you communicate, right? How do you define your organization and power structure? So I think that this to me is the main idea, and is the main idea that I think we should all stick to today. And I would love to gather all the insights from all the people to try to see how we can move this agenda of change forward.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And I'll add really quickly. I would say make and this is borrowed. You can find it on the internet. It's the motto of another company, but make a life, not a living. It's one that really resonates with me. Making a living means that you're using work as a means to an end. You're using work to get resources. You're using work because you have to, because otherwise you feel like you're going to be left out in the streets. No, but making a life is different. Making a life is integrating that work component into your life and into your other pieces that give you meaning. Maybe your girlfriend or boyfriend gives you meaning. Maybe your friends give you meaning. Your family, whatever it is, your hobbies, and work has all the necessary components to be a great meaning add to your life. So approach work this way, and for the companies, make it easy for people to approach work this way.
Fantastic. And for like to end of like a sentence by myself, it will be or like maybe a thought. It will be like, okay, think about one thing after hearing this that you can do, something that you can store and commit yourself. And if you want to commit in the chat, commit into the chat. What action would you take for until next week or for 2 weeks ahead? Like take one action, take one small step. If you get an idea, if you get like an insight, if you get like something you want to read, or like start like this movement. I think like we are like, or at least I'm tired to listen to people and ideas. And I think like the only way as an entrepreneurs, everybody has ideas, but the difficult part is to take action. So here, like we are small entrepreneurs, we have to innovate in our work, and the only thing I want to encourage you is like take action. Whatever you took today, whatever idea, take action into that idea, and then see how it develops. And we are super open to like if you have any question, like you can reach us on LinkedIn or you can reach us in any channel. I will be like super happy to like give us our input as well, and start this. So for me, that will be the end of it. And yeah, I want to thank you all, like the people who connect on YouTube, the people who connect on LinkedIn, for joining us. As you said, like it's the beginning of it. Every 2 weeks we'll be doing this webinar. So in 2 weeks we will do another one. If you want to get notified about this, you can like go to our website, like getquared.com, and you can subscribe to our newsletter, because this way you get notified. And you can subscribe if not, like in YouTube, or follow us in LinkedIn, that we will be like sharing as well whenever we do this. And yeah, Mickey.
Yeah, very important. Because I saw one of the responses to the survey that we need to share case studies, be specific, share frameworks. And what you were saying is very important, because in the newsletter is where we will share all these little things that we have in the call. So you have a little framework, you have a little explanation, so that is not like knowledge lost in the wind. Sorry, Tony.
Yeah, I don't know. Like if you sign up for the newsletter, we'll send a summary of what we talked today. So I think it's good, like to have like a PDF with all ideas that we talk. And we hope to get your answers. If you feel like sharing anything in the email, like you can share it. Or as I said, like Angela, that he was already commenting, or whoever wants to join the conversation, please do comment. You can like and we can start a conversation here. But I think it's much needed, and together I think we can do like this movement like really big, and we can start like changing how the companies work.
Hopefully
we'll take the first step.
Exactly.
So, thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.